Alright, today is April 4th. It's tomb sweeping day, for our family anyway. We're gonna head up to the graveyard in a couple hours so we can clean up and take care of the grave site for Ellie's grandpa, which is on her mom's side. It's her mom's dad. But anyway, before that, we're heading to a different part of town. I'm gonna pick up a welder. Which actually had me thinking. I was talking to a guy I work with the other day. He used to work in a machine shop, but he doesn't know how to weld. And he was asking if I knew how to. I was like, yeah, man, I can do basically anything hands-on. I can weld, I can do basic metal fabrication, I can do mechanical work, whether it's like regular internal combustion or it's diesel. I can do electrical, I can do plumbing, I can do carpentry. I'm not a master at any of those things, but I can very competently do any of those things. The only thing I can't do that I know of off the top of my head is body work. I've had friends who do body work, and I'm amazed by it. That takes real talent, real skill, and I have tried it multiple times, and I have no talent. I can't do body work, and I can't do painting, like auto body painting sort of thing. I cannot do that. But anyway, had me on the thought of welding, because I'm about to buy a welder. I'm about to start welding up some stuff, kind of restarting what I did in the States, which is to build gym equipment and sell it, since there's a need for it here. And I now have a good source for steel, and I'm going to get a welder, all these things. Alright, so I got my welder here. You know, when I was in the US, I just used a MIG welder. I've actually never done arc welding. The principle of welding is always the same, so it's not going to be much of a learning curve. I'll just have to get used to feeding the rod myself rather than having a machine do it for me. But it's a pretty cool little deal. I got this little arc welder. It's 200 amp, chrome plated, so I guess that looks fancy, but small, light, portable, 200 amp. I've got a whole big pack of rods. I got this basic little welding match that comes with it. Got some welding gloves and my wiring. Everything all together. Total package, so I can get started immediately, cost me what's equivalent to about 180 bucks US. So I'm happy with that. 200 amp welder for, and all the things I need to use it for 200 bucks, less than 200 bucks. I'm happy. We're finally at the graveyard. It's a long trip with the scooters up these windy roads, and I'm gonna need some serious sunscreen all over my head and face because this sun's a bit too brutal for me today.
Alright, today is tomb sweeping day. What we do is we come to our ancestors' grave, and then we pick up all the weeds, and then we put these colorful papers on top of the grave. It represents to patching their roof and renovate the house, so they have a nice new house to stay in.
Finally found a steel place that's open during this holiday week, so seeing if I can get some steel to make this gym equipment or not. Fucking windy as shit. But I did get all of the steel, well, most of the steel, to build several pieces of equipment. I just need to wait on a few specialty pieces they had to order. This right here, will build squat stand, Olympic bench, some farmer's walk handles, and about half of what I need to build the strongman style log press. So it's a good start. Pretty cheap too. Alright, a few things. So one, I'm a self-taught welder. I learned how to weld by just teaching myself. I bought a welder years ago and just kind of taught myself how to do it. I ended up getting pretty good, but I always used a MIG welder, wire feed. I've never even tried arc welding. Now the welding process itself all works the same, but of course there's a difference between holding a nozzle that pushes out a thin wire versus having a big, thick, solid electrode that you have to guide and feed with your hand. And of course, your hand's back here and the tip of the electrode's up here, so any little shake in your hand ends up being a big wobble in the front. And it's a fucking learning curve, that's for sure, especially because I haven't welded in like 5 years. So hopping back into welding after 5 years off and trying to teach myself a new form of it has been shit. The other thing is that the mask that came with the kit is a mask that you have to hold, and it's permanently dark. I had an old flip down auto darkening helmet. I was babied. Now I got this one that's always dark, and you have to hold it with one hand. So I'm trying to hold the helmet with one hand, or hold the mask with one hand, and basically peck around blind with the other hand, and it's been a pain in the ass. So one of the things I did was I bought this just now, and it's still not auto darkening, but at least I can use 2 of my fucking hands. And the other thing is that I don't have a 220 volt outlet on the roof. I thought I did. So you also can't buy 220 volt extension cord. So I bought another head and outlet, like a female end. And I bought 40 feet of heavy wire. I'm gonna make my own extension cord so I can plug the welder in on the 3rd floor and run it up to the roof and start welding out there. So that's the update for now. My son has just discovered the powers of hearing protection. Liam. He can't hear anything.
Myself in white, I put on this.
So loud. All right, this is a good update. So I was watching a bunch of YouTube videos on stick welding, trying to figure out what the fuck it is that I'm not getting, why I could be such an awesome welder with a MIG welder, but I'm a bumbling fucking idiot with a stick welder. I'm trying everything I can, and nothing seems to be working out. I keep either having the power too low and I can't maintain the arc, or I turn it up a little bit and I'm blowing holes in it. So after watching a bunch of YouTube videos, I figured something out that I probably should have known from the get-go, and for some reason I just didn't know, which is apparently it's kind of known among welders that stick welding is not the preferred method for doing thin metals. Like anything 1/8 inch or thinner, you really don't want to use a stick welder because it's a pain in the fucking dick, even for very experienced, like top-level stick welders. And I'm teaching myself how to do stick welding, having never done it before, on very thin metal. I'm doing like 14 gauge. So it's like 30 seconds of an inch or something. It's less than an 1/8 inch. So I figured, okay, maybe that's my problem. Maybe I just need to switch over to some of the thicker metal I have and see how that goes. So instead of dicking with the thin metal, I went straight to this, to a lot of this 11 gauge steel that I have, and wouldn't you know it, like magic, no problems at all. I'm welding perfect. I'm laying down beautiful little beads. Things are looking pretty. They're strong. I'm getting full penetration. I'm not blowing any holes. Suddenly, the planets have aligned and things are working out just great because I'm no longer trying to use a stick welder to do thin as fuck 14 gauge steel. So that was the problem all along. Problem solved, I guess. All right, had a few little problems. A few of the bits that I bought, they were meant to cut steel, but they weren't cutting. They were actually getting damaged. So I had to take a few trips back and forth to finally get the right parts that I needed. But did hit a milestone, as you can see here. Oh, it's sunny. Got the bench so far, Olympic bench. Obviously the foot. This is the spine, the cross member, the uprights. I've got the shape cut out there, but basically, let's see which direction I'm going here. Okay, so basically, this width-wise from here to this mark is 10 centimeters, and it's also 10 centimeters tall. It's got this hook that comes out. There's twin-sided because there's going to be one of these on this side and the other one on the other side. I'm going to weld a plate on the back to attach both of them, and then weld a plate to the front to attach both of those, so it ends up being a sleeve, like a collar, that slides up and down. And this is going to be the hook assembly. Again, there'll be a plate that goes across the front and a plate that goes across the top here to make it boxed off and squared and very reinforced. And then I'm going to drill a hole to put a pin through here, and I'll be drilling holes about every 1 inch up here so I can slide the collar or the rack to where I want and pin it in place, and that'll be the adjustability of it. So far making good progress. I went back and redid some of my welds because now that I've figured out what my issue was and I've gotten the hang of it, I noticed that a few of the very first welds I did where I was just kind of starting to figure out what my problem was, they weren't as pretty as I'd want. And if they're not pretty, it makes me think they're not strong. So I redid those, but that's it so far. So this is the rack I was talking about, basically. I'm of course going to put a backing plate up against here, and there's going to be a plate on the bottom here, so it's going to encapsulate it. But basically this open sleeve like this, I can't touch it right now, it's still red hot. Well, not red hot, but very, very hot. It slides up and down over the upright here. There's going to be a pin that goes right through it to adjust the rack height. But yeah, that's basically it right there. Quick update. I went ahead and I started cleaning up this area in here. See, before being sunny out every day, it gets insanely hot out here where there's no cover yet. And especially with it reflecting off the tiles and brick and the welding going, I was getting burnt and miserable and hot in basically no time at all. So I was being restricted to this inner area here where it's covered. Unfortunately, this inner area, trying to use it for everything from measuring the metal, to marking it, to cutting it, to drilling it, shaping it, welding it, modifying things. Also the area where I was placing my tools, more and more tools, more and more pieces, having power cords running, all this stuff. It was getting ridiculous in here. So yesterday I went ahead and took some of my scrap steel and I welded up just real quick little tack weld this one support here and this one support over there, and I took one of my 1/4 inch plates, my 1 foot square 1/4 inch plate, and I welded this pole to it right here to create this middle support. And then in order to just kind of give it some extra security and also give me a place to set my stuff, I stacked these pallets on top of it, and then I ran this cover up over the top. And this one is actually very porous. It's kind of like a very tight woven net. So it provides a lot of shade, but it still allows air to pass through and better ventilation. So that's allowed me to now expand out where I've got my steel set out here. It's about to rain, so I put my tarp down, but I've got some of my hand tools under here. Here's the bench so far. Got some more stuff stacked over here. And now I've got my little broom and I'm cleaning up all this crap, all this mess before the rain comes in. And I'm actually gonna end up building a bench out here and probably put a big metal bench, not bench, like tabletop, like worktop here across this wall. And I'm gonna put a drill press on it, put a vise on it. I'm gonna make sure it's metal specifically, not only for the corrosion purposes, but so it doesn't, not wood, it's not gonna rot, but also so I can just clamp my ground clamp to there when I'm welding, and it'll make everything on the table hot. So that's what I'm doing right now. All right, quick update video. I've started to get this area here cleared out, and I already bought the steel today. It's a side thing, I just went and bought a bunch more steel for a bunch of different projects now that I got a flow going. I'm gonna build a big workbench right here, metal top workbench to put a drill press on. I'm picking up a drill press in a few days, big one. As long as my welder and everything else, I'm gonna build a welding cart. I got these pallets laid on the ground because every time the washing machine goes off, it actually gets water all over the ground. So that's elevated, nothing gets wet over there now. I've got this shade set up, so it's actually nice and cool, a nice breeze, much easier to work in this open area here. I got one of the upright hooks I was talking about mostly completed. This is it. So basically this is what I was talking about. It's got this hook where it'll obviously sit in the pocket, but you're not going to have to lift it so much to get it to clear. That way you can save energy that way. There's going to be a hole drilled in the side to put the adjustment pin through. And the way it's going to work is I've got these holes that I just drilled. I still need to bore them out to the proper size, but these are the basic holes. And there's going to be a hole in the side of this thing right here, and it just slides right over the top. And I can slide it up and down to the height that I need, whatever height it is. Now, obviously, I need to clean up these rough corners and polish it and finish it and do all the additional things, but that's the rough cut to give you an idea of how it's going to work and how it's going to be set up. Oh, I got more steel. So the first day I was frustrated because I hadn't welded anything in 5 years, and I've never in my life arc welded. I always did MIG welding. So I had to suddenly dust off the cobwebs of just general welding on top of teaching myself how to arc weld all at the same time. And goddamn, it was a very frustrating process. Because I'm used to, and it sounds arrogant, but I am used to being able to just kind of pick up on things pretty fast. So the fact that it took me the entire day before I could get good, strong, consistent welds felt like it was just never going to happen. So day one, it took me the entire day just to figure out how to arc weld in general. And then day 2/3, I had nice, strong welds. I was stress testing them and everything, but they weren't pretty. I wasn't used to having the tip of the electrode out here with the hand all the way back here from the long rod, where every tiny little insignificant movement in your hand translates to really big movements in the electrode. So I was constantly jumping back and forth and jumping around and going up and having to go back. So although there was penetration, it was a strong weld, they were very ugly welds. However, now it's day 4, and I have finally gotten to the point where I'm laying down nice, beautiful bead, and my welds are looking pretty for the most part. So give you an example, I'll show you this. Obviously I haven't gone over it with a wire wheel yet, but much prettier. This one also, I haven't brushed it off yet, so it's still all dirty, but you can see nice, straight, consistent little pools. Go to the back, same kind of thing. This side, for the most part, same kind of thing. This one, let's see, nice pretty little pattern. Still needs to be cleaned, but nice consistent pretty little pools, you know, stacking diamonds. So yeah, I still need to go over it with a wire wheel and just clean it up because there's still some slag and dirt and everything and little bird shit splatter all over it, but it is looking pretty good. Right now I've gotten both of the adjustable uprights done, and I drilled the holes. I need to bore those out and then put the holes in the uprights. I already made some pins to pin through there that I need to build the supports so the bench doesn't tip back, and finish some stuff on that. But right now I am building squat stands, which are almost done because they're pretty fast and easy. What I did was I got 1/4-inch plate right here, and I got 8-gauge steel tubing, which is literally 5 centimeters by 10 centimeters or 2 by 4 inches, just welded here to go up, and that's 1 meter high, a little over 3 feet. And then I've got this, which is 4 centimeters by 8 centimeters, with this little rack I put up on here, and this will slide right down here. So this will be able to just slide in here like that for adjustable height. Which will be controlled by these pins. I'm even making my own pins. A lot of the pins that come with gyms are like 1/4-inch, I think. I got 3/8 inch steel, I want it to be a little bit thicker. So I've got a whole bunch of this rod right here, and I've been cutting out and shaping and welding my own adjustment pins and then redundant safety pins in case something happens with that. So, all right, final update for today. First thing is that I got the that basically a kickstand welded onto the bench here, so it can't tilt back. Something is the plate on the bottom, and this roof is uneven. It actually slopes so that the water goes to the drains on the corners, which is why it still wobbles a bit. But when it's on the flat ground downstairs, it won't wobble. I made sure everything was square on that. The other thing is that I finished this squat stand. The other one is like 95% done. I just have to finish boring out the holes. They're already drilled. I just have to bore them out to the proper size for the pins. But this one, although I haven't taken a wire brush to clean it up, I haven't degreased it or primed it or painted it or any of the things to make it finely and pretty. It is done as far as construction goes. It's got 1/4-inch steel plate. I got this, what is it? I think it's 8-gauge steel here. I have to measure again, but that's the bottom, the base. Then it's got this, this is 5 centimeters by 10 centimeters or 2 by 4 inches. And this is 4 centimeters by 8 centimeters. And as you can see from the walls on the hole there, it is very thick, several millimeters thick, but it slides up and down inside this like a sleeve, and the pins go right in there. And I kept this mouth really big and open because I know that in the future I might want to do some weird stuff, who knows. So this can accommodate the real thick bars, like axle bars if necessary, and it can also go up very high. This landing point can actually go up to 2 meters tall, up to here, which is like above my head height. So it is very versatile, and very heavy duty, very rugged. Like I said, I just have to clean it up and paint it to finish it, and then I'm going to put the sleeve around this edge, a plastic collar, so that it slides nice and smooth and it doesn't rattle. But yeah, I also finally went ahead and actually drilled into the concrete here to set some cement anchors, and then welded this to the anchor, so this absolutely isn't going to move at all anymore. Before, I had it pinned in temporarily with these little nails, but you can see with all the wind they were coming out. And I had just really thin rope tying it up real fast. Now I've actually got a carabiner hooking it on. I also got this anchor put over here, still thin rope temporarily. I'm going to get some chain, but this anchors the wall here so that now it's anchored at 6 different points to keep it nice and taut around this center point. So even with all the wind, it'll maintain its shade. But that's it for today. I gotta clean up and get something to eat. See what happens tomorrow.